Welcome everyone to the Moisky News for April 16th, 2020. Today I'd like to talk about what Keir Starmer has said with regards to the government's activity or lack thereof when it comes to an exit strategy from the coronavirus lockdown, with him urging the government to not only be more transparent, but to publish when they intend for us to exit the lockdown. To do this, he sent a letter to Dominic Raab, who is acting in the Prime Minister's stead. And to make sure that everyone knows he did this, he did tweet out the letter directly to Dominic Raab. Keir Starmer has also indicated in that very letter that he will continue, and the Labour Party will continue to support the continuation of the current measures, and that the only reason he wishes for the government to publish an exit strategy is to maintain trust and to ensure that arrangements are in place, all arrangements necessary are in place to maintain it. With him telling BBC Radio 4's Today programme, we've got to have the trust of the public, and that it is inevitable that the lockdown will have to continue. For that trust, there needs to be transparency and openness. They need to know what the thinking is on when the lockdown will end. Now, he has said that the government planning was previously not quick enough, but he has also said, let's just not repeat that. Mass testing and then tracing is likely to be amongst the options for ending the lockdown. If that is right, we need the government to say so because decisions need to be made and taken now to make sure that the number of tests that are needed and the arrangements are in place so they can be implemented at the relevant time. Somewhat interestingly, he believes that schools should be amongst the first institutions to restart following the easing of lockdown measures. But he has also said in another interview that it would be wrong to put a time on when schools would or should reopen, with Keir Starmer conceding that until we know the curve is flattening, then we have to stay in the conditions we are in. In the letter you see on the screen, Keir Starmer has said that millions of people have played their part and made sacrifices, and in return the government needs to be open and transparent with the public about how it believes the lockdown will ease and eventually end, with him warning in that letter the silent pressures on communities across the UK cannot be underestimated, and that to maintain morale and hope, people need a sense of what comes next. The government has partially responded with yesterday's press conference, saying that extensive work is being done on an exit strategy, but the focus right now is on getting the public to stay at home while the government builds the capacity of the NHS, adding that the government would be led by medical and scientific advice on when we are past the peak and when it is appropriate to talk about next steps. Priti Patel was talking on ITV's This Morning and said that we'd all love to be able to spread a great deal of optimism and say this is going to end on X date. But the fact of the matter is we don't have the answers to all of this right now, saying that the country was yet to reach the peak of the virus and the restrictions were there rightly so to stop the spread. A number of MPs have also spoken as members of the Health and Social Care Select Committee, saying that it was not possible for a really conclusive plan to draw up or be drawn up unless you've reached the peak of the epidemic. And until you reach the peak, until we understand the impact, the measures we are currently taking, how that's affecting hospital admissions, the number of deaths and how the NHS is coping with those, we can't really formulate a proper plan for how we are going to then exit. On Tuesday, during the Downing Street Daily Press Conference, Chancellor Rishi Sunak, who chaired that, insisted that the government's priority is to save lives, with the NHS England's medical director, Professor Stephen Powis, telling the same press conference that compliance levels, which I don't like that, among the public were very high, and this was beginning to have an impact on hospital admissions, but also emphasising the point that we don't take our foot off the pedal just because people are being more compliant. The Office of Budget Responsibility has predicted that the UK economy could shrink 35% between now and June, while unemployment surges by more than 2 million. But it has also predicted that if by June things are turning around and we're back to where we were, as in, let's say, less compliant and more enjoying the damn summer that we've got, GDP will jump 25% in the third quarter and a further 20% in the final 3 months of 2020. meaning eventually it will bounce back and start growing again, which is great. Of course we want it to. But this particular watchdog has based its calculations on a 3-month lockdown followed by a partial lifting for 3 months, not on full access after 3 months. So it'll be very interesting to see how it proceeds. With this, I'd love to know what you think. Please do let me know in the comments down below. As a final thing, I'm going to stream on Twitch tonight. If you're interested and like to chill, chat and just have a bit of fun, join me. Link below.